Well, as crazy as it gets, there's still more reports of the colonial military perpetuating injustice, this time victimizing bike riders in Ambazonia. Of course, it's been going on and on, but this time let's bring it to the spotlight. Let's bring it into the news, because in Ambazonia right now, bikes have become artilleries. They've become ballistic missiles to La Republic forces and punishable by death, having a bike. Well, there is a preconceived notion by the colonial army that they are armed. These bike riders are armed, or Amazonian fighters. They are Amazonian fighters. And so it has led to the victimization of bike riders. I mean, bike riders who are most likely graduates who cannot get a job and resorted to bike riding just to make ends meet in a neglected Ambazonia. All of a sudden, they're the targets for colonial forces. Military personnel are supposed to respect human rights vis-a-vis the international norms of war, but that professional approach is far from the exhibit or even the knowledge of the colonial military, who perpetually and on different counts disregards the law and human rights, especially with southern Cameroon's Ambazonians. Over the weekend, we got another tragic incident which took place in Maine, where a commercial bike rider was shot and killed by La Republic forces. The military claimed that they mistook him for an Amazonian fighter, an excuse that has become all too common and remains utterly inexcusable. This is not an isolated case. Many innocent civilians have fallen victims to similar circumstances, and the pattern only highlights the deep-seated issues of brutality and impunity within the colonial military force. A professionally trained army should be able to differentiate between a legitimate threat and an unarmed civilian. The rules of engagement in conflict zones are clear. If a person is not armed or posing any immediate risk, lethal force, it is unjustified to use brutal force. This is a basic principle of the ethics of war, yet it is routinely violated by the colonial police operating in Ambazonia, the colonial forces operating in Ambazonia. In countries with stronger legal systems, such as the United States, military personnel would be held accountable and prosecuted for shooting an unarmed civilian who poses no threat. But of course, not in La Republic. In the case of La Republic's military, these violations would, as they have always been, met with impunity, allowing the lawless behavior to continue unchecked. The continuous victimization of bike riders in Ambazonia at the hands of La Republic du Cameroon forces is a glaring reminder of the ongoing injustices faced by the peoples of Ambazonia. The colonial military's failure to distinguish, or purportedly fail to distinguish, between civilians and combatants, coupled with their disregard for human rights, human lives, only deepens the sufferings for Ambazonia. Until the military is held accountable for these unlawful actions, the cycle of violence and impunity will only continue to persist, leaving more innocent lives at risk. The people of Ambazonia certainly deserve justice, and it is imperative that they get that justice that they deserve, which is why this lockdown is also another opportunity to make their voice heard and put pressure on the global scene, to put pressure on La Republic du Cameroon to come to the negotiation table and grant Ambazonia an independence that was stolen from them.